Here's the question nobody asks before switching off Dropbox: do you actually need storage, or do you need sync? Those sound the same, but they're completely different problems, and every open source alternative solves one far better than the other. Get this wrong and you'll spend a weekend migrating to a tool that still can't do what you needed.
Storage means there's a server somewhere holding your files, and you can reach them from any device, anywhere, even when your laptop is off. Sync means your machines stay in step with each other, but at least one of them has to be reachable for that to work. Syncthing is the sync answer. Nextcloud, Seafile, and ownCloud are the storage answers. That's the whole framework.
Before we go tool by tool, let's look at adoption. For projects, very different momentum. Syncthing sits at over 85,000 GitHub stars. It's been a community staple since 2013 and it shows. Nextcloud trails at under 36,000. Seafile and ownCloud are smaller communities, but all four pushed commits within the last 2 days. Everything here is actively maintained.
Start with Syncthing because it's the most architecturally different from Dropbox of all four. There's no server. It syncs directly between devices you own, end-to-end encrypted in transit. 85,000 stars and an MPL 2.0 license, one of the most permissive on this list, commercial-friendly if you ever need that.
The trade-off with Syncthing is baked into its architecture. If you want to open a file from your phone while your home machine is sleeping, there's nothing on the other end to respond. You can work around this by keeping an always-on device, a Raspberry Pi, a VPS, as a persistent hub. But at that point you're running a file server anyway, just one with no web interface.
Which is where Nextcloud earns its place. It's the closest open source match to Dropbox in actual architecture. You run a server, files live on that server, and everyone connects via desktop sync clients, mobile apps, or a browser. 36,000 stars, HPL, 3.0 license, and the most feature-complete experience of the four.
The honest operational reality about Nextcloud: it's a PHP application, and it accumulates complexity quickly. Plugin conflicts, database tuning, PHP version mismatches, many people start here and migrate to something simpler within a year. If you're comfortable managing a LAMP-adjacent stack, it's genuinely excellent. If you're not, budget the setup time realistically.
Seafile is the alternative to reach for when raw performance matters, specifically when you're dealing with a large number of files or large individual files. It stores files as content blocks internally, which makes deduplication and large file sync significantly more efficient. 14,000 stars, and the license shows as non-standard in the source data, so verify the actual license file before any commercial deployment. For personal self-hosting, it's widely used.
And ownCloud, worth understanding the history here. Nextcloud is actually a fork of ownCloud from 2016, after a community split. ownCloud stayed enterprise-focused, Nextcloud captured the broader self-hoster community. At nearly 9,000 stars, it has the smallest community on this list, but it's still actively developed, AGPL licensed, and the right pick if your organization already has ownCloud enterprise relationships or depends on ownCloud-specific plugins.
Here's the full picture side by side. For tools, their star counts from the GitHub data, license, and the one-word answer to what they're actually best at.
Let's be honest about what you leave behind. Dropbox Paper, the collaborative doc editor, has no equivalent bundled into any of these four. Dropbox Replay for video review is entirely proprietary and has no OSS substitute in this stack. SmartSync, where files appear on your desktop but only download on demand, is something Nextcloud partially covers with virtual files. Syncthing doesn't have it at all. And frictionless sharing with non-technical recipients via a public link is something Dropbox does quietly well that requires more setup to replicate.
So who should actually stay on Dropbox? Heavy Dropbox Paper users. If Paper is your team's doc layer, you need to migrate that separately to something like Notion or Outline before you can even think about moving storage. Non-technical teams where maintenance will fall on one person indefinitely, self-hosting is an ongoing commitment, not a one-time setup. Mobile-first users who need instant access to files they haven't opened recently, Syncthing in particular will frustrate you when you're away from your home network and your hub machine is offline.
If you are committed to migrating, here's the order that avoids the common mistakes. First, sync everything to local disk with the Dropbox desktop client before you touch anything. Then use rclone to copy from Dropbox to Nextcloud. You don't re-download, it moves from one cloud to another. Export Dropbox papers separately as Markdown or docx. They are not files and will not copy over automatically. Audit every app that connects to Dropbox via OAuth and plan the reconnection steps. And run old and new in parallel for at least 2 weeks before you cancel.
Quick word on how we produce this ranking, because that's what the OSFind site is built around. We don't score on a feature checkbox. We look at GitHub commit activity to confirm the project is actually maintained right now, read the real license file rather than trusting a badge, evaluate how hard the first deploy actually is and what month 12 of operations looks like, and give an honest assessment of fit rather than making every tool sound like the answer.
That's the 4. Syncthing if you want pure sync with no server to maintain, just devices that stay in step. Nextcloud if you want the closest thing to Dropbox and can handle a PHP stack deployment. Seafile if performance at scale is the deciding factor. ownCloud if you're in an enterprise context with existing ownCloud relationships. Full comparison with live star counts and verified license details is in the description link.